On today's Two on Your Side Town Hall, the next governor of New York. We're live in Albany, where Kathy Hochul spoke publicly for the first time since she found out she'd be taking over the governor's office. Plus, a verified answer to a question a lot of people have asked: what about the governor's pension? Also tonight, the impact on survivors. We talk with those who deal with the fallout of sexual harassment and assault every day about what this resignation means to them. And we thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Kate Welshofer.
And I'm Michael Wooten, live in Albany, just outside the state capitol, where earlier today Kathy Hochul went before the cameras and an intense spotlight, answering questions for the first time since the news developed yesterday that Andrew Cuomo will be resigning as governor in just 13 days, Kate.
And she gave a short opening statement and then about 15 minutes of questions. Some highlights here. She says there's going to be a lot of turnover and that anyone found to have done something unethical in the Attorney General's report will not be in her administration. She expects to name a lieutenant governor in the next few weeks, and she was asked as well about her relationship with the governor.
I think it's very clear that the governor and I have not been close, physically or otherwise, in terms of much time. And so I've been traveling the state and do not spend much time in his presence or in the presence of many in the state capitol, but that is what has been being reported. And I'm going to stand right here. At the end of my term, whenever it ends, no one will ever describe my administration as a toxic work environment.
So a lot to cover from that tonight.
Yeah, and we are being joined right now by John Campbell, who's been covering this town for a long time. John is the team leader with USA Today's network here in Albany. John, as I was listening to Kathy Hochul today, it seemed to me that there was a real theme that she was trying to say, I've been Andrew Cuomo's number two for almost 2 terms now, but I am not Andrew Cuomo. I am my own person. I had nothing to do with the transgressions of which he's accused. Do you think that was her goal today, and how do you think she handled it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was very clear that she is not close with Andrew Cuomo, and that's how she wanted that to be perceived, but that's also happens to be the truth. She crisscrossed the state in pushing his agenda, but the two of them were not known to be close. She was not one of his close advisors, and that's really working out favorably for her right now.
Yeah, it seemed to be pretty interesting today when she was asked, did you have any knowledge of any of the improprieties of which he is accused? She was not named in the Attorney General's report, and she said, no, I knew nothing of any of this. Obviously a question that needed to be asked and answered.
Right, absolutely. And you also heard her talk about this 2-week period between when the governor said he was going to resign and when his resignation takes effect. She was very clear to say there's only one governor at a time. She said that over and over and over again. And that's something that she clearly was trying to get across during this press conference.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that 13-day transition period coming up in just a moment. But on that issue of one governor at a time, we didn't get a lot of specifics from Kathy Hochul today. She was asked, for instance, the state health commissioner said that it's not up to him if kids need to be wearing masks in schools. What do you think about that, Lieutenant Governor Hochul? And she kind of punted on it. She punted on a lot of issues. What do you make of that? And I assume that we'll get some clarity on all of that once she's actually in charge.
Well, you would hope so, and that was kind of one of the things she was trying to get across today. She is going to be the one in charge. She is the one who's going to have to answer these questions. Today is 24 hours after the governor announced he'd resigned. That's a pretty quick turnaround. I think it's reasonable to expect that she would need some time to take care of some of those things. Which members of the Cuomo administration she wants to keep on, which she wants to get rid of. That's something that's going to be hammered out in the days and weeks ahead.
I want to play a little bit of sound for our audience from Kathy Hochul earlier today. She was asked about the conversation that she had with Andrew Cuomo yesterday and this 13-day transition period. A lot of people think that seems like a long time. Here's how the current lieutenant governor answered that a few hours ago.
It's not what I asked for. However, I'm looking forward to a smooth transition, which he promised. He spoke to me about wanting to make sure that the transition to continuity is important, that I have an opportunity to meet the cabinet officials, other people as well. So they viewed it as necessary. I'm prepared to take office as any lieutenant governor is from the very first hour you're sworn in as lieutenant governor. However, I will take advantage of that time.
All right, and back out here live with John Campbell. What do you make of this 13-day transition period, and what is going to be happening with Kathy Hochul and her closest advisors over the next 2 weeks?
Well, what Kathy Hochul made very clear today is that was not her decision to do that. And there was some question yesterday when the governor announced this 2-week kind of transition period, whether Kathy Hochul had requested that. You know, maybe you want a transition period to make sure it's orderly from one governor to the next. She made clear that's not the case. When Eliot Spitzer resigned, there was a 5-day period. This is much longer than that. There is some concern from lawmakers, from officials, about what the governor may do in that 2-week period. So far, we haven't heard of any concrete steps the governor is taking, but you know, the governor of New York is a very powerful executive position in New York. There's a lot of things that can be done in those 2 weeks. Kathy Hochul said that wasn't her decision, but she said she's going to use that time to you know, make important decisions. And quite frankly, there are many things to be decided, and a 2-week transition period can't hurt from that regard.
Yeah, Susan Lerner with Common Cause, a good government group among those, kind of out there saying she's worried about the length of time and what the governor may do in that interim. So we'll see how that continues to play out. Politically, I thought it was interesting today. We didn't get to ask Kathy Hochul, are you going to run for this office next November? I think a lot of people are just assuming that's going to be the case. But when she was talking about her pick for lieutenant governor, we don't know who that's going to be yet, she said someone who will help balance the ticket. Right. And we heard about diversity, we heard about upstate and downstate. Politically, how is this going to play out?
Well, listen, there are any number of Democrats who are eyeing the governor's office right now in 2022, and Kathy Hochul's among them. Incumbency is a very big advantage in New York State. It's huge for name recognition. It's huge for fundraising. So Kathy Hochul would be in a position to run in 2022 if she wanted to. You're right. She may have slipped a little bit, said the ticket. She wants to balance the ticket. And what she means by that is, you know, she's from Buffalo. Maybe she wants somebody from New York City, where the votes are, quite frankly. She is a white woman. Maybe she wants a black woman or a black male on the other side of the ticket. So you're right. That was a thing that a lot of people picked up on, and you know, it would seem to signal that she's thinking politically in some regard, but this is a political system. That's to be expected.
We're almost out of time. One final question. We're going to have the next meeting of the Judiciary Committee on Monday talking about impeachment. Do you anticipate that they're going to move forward with that, even though Andrew Cuomo has announced his resignation? Republicans certainly want that.
I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that right now, and we're hoping to learn more on Monday when that committee meets. There are questions about whether they legally can bring impeachment against somebody who's not in office, but the big thing is, in theory, the Assembly could make it so Andrew Cuomo does not run for office in the future, and that's something that Republicans and some Democrats are pushing for.
John Campbell has been covering this story very closely, team leader, Albany team leader with USA Today Network. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your views, and hello to the family in Lockport.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks, John. So, Kate, we talked there at the end about the impeachment issue. Coming up in just a few minutes, where I'm going to be speaking with an actual member of the Judiciary Committee about how that's going to play out with the next big meeting coming up on Monday.
All right, more to come. We'll see you in a bit, Michael. Thank you, live there in Albany. And you know that we try to get answers to the questions that you're asking here on the town hall. And there is one that we have heard more than any other since Governor Cuomo's resignation announcement yesterday. Will the governor still get a New York State pension? So let's verify. Our sources are the Public Integrity Reform Act, a bill that was signed into law by Governor Cuomo himself 10 years ago this Sunday. And a new part of New York law, it created Chapter 51A, Article 3B. So that new section of law set up a process for public officials to forfeit their pensions if they're convicted of a felony crime related to public office. So for that to happen, the district attorney that has jurisdiction or the attorney general has to start a whole new court action related to the pension specifically. That sets up a hearing with the state Supreme Court, where the judges will consider several factors before deciding to revoke some or all of a person's pension, including the severity of the crime, how badly the public trust was breached, the defendant's criminal history, and how many years that official served with no criminal activity. So we can verify that as of right now, Governor Cuomo is still in line to get his pension from New York. That could change if he is charged with and convicted of a felony crime, and prosecutors then push to have it removed. Right now, though, the Albany County District Attorney's Office says the potential crime he's facing is only a misdemeanor.